Hello everyone, welcome to session 5, Sweet Talk with Nikki. We are going to need the 2 Jen Hadfield papers in your kit, as well as the acetate and a sheet of white cardstock. You'll also need a little strip of watercolour card as well that's loose in your kit. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm taking my white card and I'm gutting the middle, so I'm doing a border, I think 1 1/4 in from each edge, and that leaves me with a frame and a piece for the middle that I'll just put to one side. The heart paper by Jen Hadfield Reaching Out, I've just trimmed down and I am distressing the edges and I'm sticking the background to the frame, so that gives me a nice border, a big white border around the outside of the layout. I'm really liking how that's looking at the moment. That's something I'm doing a lot of at the moment, having a large white border. So I like that. It means I can also fold up the sides a little bit and give my background some good texture and dimension. So that's the first thing that we're doing. Then I decided at this point that I was going to attempt to splatter the background with white paint. Don't bother doing this. You can't see it. It's because it's watercolour and not very thick. If it was white acrylic, then it would show up a lot better, but it's just simply not showing up on the background, so do not worry about doing that stage there. Okay, so I'm now going to go straight into making the mobile phones. So I have taken I've taken my template, my mobile phone template, and I have drawn around that onto the scrap piece of white card. I am going to do the same thing onto the script paper as well. So the back of the script paper is the journaling cards. Oh, by the way, I should say that first thing I did was trim off the top row of journaling cards and preserve those for later. So the remaining piece of that journaling card paper that is also the script on the reverse is going to make up our other mobile phone. So I have just drawn around the mobile phone template with a pencil, and then I'm going to cut that out with scissors. So just carefully cutting those out. I'm also going to cut out the middle sections as well. I'm going to use scissors because I'm not very good with a knife. However, if you're good with a craft knife, that might be the best thing to use. A ruler and a craft knife will probably give you a straighter edge than the scissors that I'm using. Also, the little bit at the bottom, the little button at the bottom, also needs to be cut out as well. Again, I've used scissors for that, but you could also use a craft knife and a cutting mat. That would be fine. So whatever method suits you. So now we end up with 2 mobile phone fronts. The one is white and one is script. I'm a bit worried at this point about how the script phone is going to look against the heart background, because the heart background is quite busy, and I'm worried that the pattern of the script paper will get lost within that pattern or might clash slightly. So I'm going to sort that out by inking the edges of my script mobile phone front, just using an ink pad. So you'll see me do it in just a moment. So I'm now thinking about how I'm going to cut my backing, and because I need 2 more pieces, you see, to back these phones. So now I'm having a look at the acetate. I'm going to need to cover these in acetate as well. So I have just grabbed my piece of acetate, grabbed a pen, just a fine liner pen, and I'm just drawing around the outside edge of my 2 phones. You could use the mobile phone template for this, to be honest, but I'm drawing around my ones I've already cut. It's probably silly because I could have ended up with pen on my phones, but use the template. So I've just drawn around those on the acetate, and I'm just cutting around them roughly, slightly within the lines. So this is going to go on the back of the mobile phone fronts and will be stuck completely flat over the whole thing. So this is the reverse piece of that mobile phone, and I'm applying adhesive all the way around, and then I'm just going to put my acetate piece on the back there. Okay, so that's the first one done, and then the second one I'm going to do as well. But like I said, I was a bit worried about how the pattern of the phone might look, the script pattern of the phone, because it's a pattern paper, not a solid. I was worried about how that would look against my pattern. So I thought of a couple of methods. I thought I might use the watercolour paints. I thought I might use a pen. But in the end, I decided to opt for an ink pad. And I've just brushed the side of the phone against the ink pad. And I've tried to do the middle as well. I couldn't get into the corners. I could possibly have managed to do that by using a sponge applicator or something, but I didn't. So I just missed off the corners completely, but it does give it so much more definition, so it's definitely a step worth taking. You could use a Sharpie or a fine liner pen to do an outline, or you could use the watercolour paints to very carefully paint a black section on those edges. But yeah, it was definitely worth doing. It shows up really well. I've now got fingerprints all over my acetate, so I'm just rubbing those off with my sleeve. There's probably a tool for that, but I find my sleeve works just as well. So I've just rubbed off all my fingerprints. Right now you're looking at the reverse of the two mobile phone fronts. And what I'm going to do now is put a wall of foam pads around the middle aperture. So where the fascia of the phone is, like the opening, I'm going to put foam pads all the way around that rectangle. So I use small foam pads. They're about 5 millimeters. And my aim was to pull them off in one long piece and attach them, but then they all stuck to me, so that didn't really work. So I did mostly end up putting these on individually all the way around. It's a little bit of a labour of love. It takes a bit of time, but do be careful and make sure you don't have any big gaps. We are putting sequins and large items inside rather than glitter, so it doesn't matter if there is a small gap here or there, because as long as it's the gaps are small enough so that the sequins can't escape, all should be good. So I've done that on both phones, and what I'm doing now is I'm taking the backs of the foam pads off. Now, I have a slight problem in the fact that at the point of making the layout in the video, I did not have my photos sorted. So I had some photos I wanted to use, but they weren't accessible for printing at this time. So later on in the video, you'll see that I switch over to my real photos. So at the moment, we have two photos of my boy outside doing a dinosaur roar. So they totally don't go at all with this layout, but I needed something to put in the phone to make sure I was happy with my photo placement. So this is a good tip for if you come to the Getaway and you don't have your photos sorted. You can actually get quite far with this layout even if you don't have your photos. And then what I did later on was just seal those mobile phone pockets down later on and trap everything inside when I had my correct photos. So what I've done is I've just pulled the foam pads off the bottom half of the phone, and that way I can then put my sequins in and they'll all fall down to the bottom and be fairly safe. You know, if they were to be tipped upside down, then yes, they would fall out, but as long as when you're putting them in your tote bags to go home, you should be okay as long as they're upright. So I want other things inside my mobile phone shakers apart from sequins. So I've got sequins in both, but I also want other things in there. So I've taken the offcuts of that heart paper that I used for the background, and I have doodled a load of hearts just with a pen. You could use a Sharpie or a fine liner. I used a medium, almost like a felt tip. It's not a Sharpie and it's not a fine liner, so it's somewhere in between. And I drew a number of hearts. I think I did 5 for each phone, and I have just doodled those onto a piece of that heart paper and then fussy cut them out. And I also want to put some of the stickers from the sticker book inside the shakers as well. Now, because they're sticky, and these are actually really sticky stickers too, because they're sticky, we need to de-stick them. So first of all, I've just realised that I don't have enough hearts. So if I want 5 or 6 in each one, then I need to make a few more. So I'm just going to quickly fussy cut those out as well. I should have done them all at the same time, but I wasn't sure how many I would put in each phone at that point. So anyway, just coming back now to do a few more hearts. There they are. They're all ready to go now. And now I'm going to move on to the stickers. So I just love the rainbows and the emojis that are part of the Jen Hadfield Reaching Out sticker book. So I've just pulled off, I think I've got 6 rainbows in total and 5 emojis, and I'm just going to de-stick them. Now I'm using my tool is an anti-static block. I've never used it for anti-static in my life. I think it's for like if you're going to do embossing or something, but I don't use it for that. I just use it for de-sticking things. Basically, it's a little pouch filled with talcum powder, and then the talcum powder comes out and sticks to the stickers, and then the stickers are no longer sticky. So if you don't have one of those, then regular talcum powder works just as well. Put some in some foil or a little pot or something and bring it with you to the retreat. Mind you probably won't hear this video until you're actually at the retreat. But that would be a good thing to bring. Alternatively, you can also use a piece of copy paper and just stick the stickers to the copy paper and then trim them back out. So that works just as well. I should also say that the backing pieces for my mobile phones, one is out of white card and then the other one is part of the watercolour paper because I could not fit 2 mobile phones out of the remainder of my white cardstock for this class. So I've had to use the watercolour paper. But actually that works really, really well because the script paper of the mobile phone is cream, and therefore the white backing might have looked a bit too stark, whereas the watercolour paper is cream as well, so that works really well. Okay, on the remainder of the watercolour paper, I've stamped 8 flowers from the Maggie Holmes Garden Party collection, and I'm just going to paint them in coordinating colours for this layout. So I'm going to do some pinky orange or reddy orangey colours. So I'm starting off with red, and you can see how dark that is, and that's way too dark. So I'm now adding some orange over the top and some extra water, and I'm turning that into like a reddy orange colour. Now I'm being lazy and mixing directly onto my piece of watercolour paper, whereas you could absolutely mix this in a palette beforehand, but I find that this method works pretty well, and I was quite happy with how I'm doing that. So I've done the 2 reddy orange ones. I've now moving on to blue. I've got I'm doing the darker blue or the teal almost, or navy first, but now I want to bring in some of the turquoise. We have turquoise sequins and there's turquoise in the rainbows, so I wanted to bring some of that colour in as well. So I'm just doing that with the paints. Before moving on to doing another reddy orange one, because I realised then I had too many blues versus not enough reddy orange ones. So they're just going to sit there and dry for a bit while I put the rest of the layout together. Okay, so we now need 2 journaling cards. I'm going to use the yellow one and the green one, and I'm going to just distress the edges of those, and then I'm going to tuck them in behind my phones. I have also got a gold doily, and I've stuck those 2 journaling cards, the doily and the 2 phones into position now. I am going to move the journaling cards down a little bit, and then I'm going to continue to just play around with the layout and make sure that I'm happy with how everything is looking before finally getting all the embellishments in and committing and sticking everything down. Right now I'm just adding a few stickers to the mobile phones themselves. So on the left hand side, on the photo that will be of my girl, it says I've got #smile, which is from the sticker book, and then the little labels, I'm here for you, better together and so sweet. On the right hand phone, which will be my boy, I've got hello besties, let's get together and hang in there. So all cute little sentiments in there, all the little label stickers in the Jen Hadfield sticker book, and there's also some the hello and the smile are on a different page of the sticker book. So something I really love about this sticker book is that these are cardstock stickers. So rather than being transparent, they are cardstock stickers. So they're really lovely and they're super sticky. So be careful when you go to stick these in place because they might not move again. I have added floral clusters stickers. There's a whole page of floral clusters in the sticker book. So I've added some of those on the left, some in the middle there, and some are going to go over on the right hand side as well. I'm using the cardstock stickers for those, at least 2 or 3 in each cluster and more. And just be careful when you stick them. Like I said, they are super duper sticky. I've also raised up some of my flower clusters on foam pads, and that's I've kind of tucked them under the phones and then not stuck them completely flat to the page, and then just popped some foam pads underneath, and that's just to give them some dimension. That's a completely optional step, of course. It depends on how much dimension you like on your layouts. Okay, in that middle section there, I'm going to add the flare badge. I've got the So Much Fun title on the page at the moment, but that doesn't actually make it onto the layout. And then I've also got the little mobile phone sticker that says yes you can, and I've added a house sticker and some hearts and the flare badge. Yeah, so that's all kind of coming together. I've now got the correct photo. So this is later on, and my printer, I was able to print them. I have now just inserted my photos. I've stuck them completely flat so that no sequins or anything else gets caught underneath the photo. So I put my adhesive right close to the edges on my photos. And then I've just, all my shaky bits are down at the bottom of the phone. And I'm now just poking in my photos, getting those stuck completely flat, and then peeling off the remainder of the foam pads and getting those sequins and other bits trapped in place inside the shaker. And I've also added a title. I did that off camera because I was having some issues. I've actually stuck the word Sweet Talk. I actually went with the name of the class onto a piece of white cardstock with the thickers, and then I fussy cut that out to give it some good definition behind all those details that's going on that layout. So there you go. That is my layout complete. I really love this layout. It's super cute. The shakers, obviously, you can't really see unless you see the real layout, but they are super duper cute and full of like rainbows and hearts and sequins and emojis, all perfect things for the youth of today who are always on their phones. Okay, thank you so very, very much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed this class. That was session 5, Sweet Talk with Nikki.